Your apartment is closer to the airport. My sister was screaming at the doorman when I walked into the lobby. 4 kids sat on suitcases behind her, crying. My mom stood next to Hannah, pointing at the elevator like she could force me to appear through sheer willpower. I stood about 10 feet away with my arms crossed and watched the whole scene unfold. Carlos kept his voice professional and steady. Ma'am, he's not on the approved visitor list. Hannah's face turned red. He's my brother. Call him down here right now. Carlos glanced over at me for confirmation. I shook my head once. He turned back to my sister and kept his tone neutral. I'm following the resident's instructions, ma'am. I turned around and walked to the elevator. Hit the button for the 12th floor. The doors slid shut on my mother's voice screaming something about family and cruelty. I didn't catch all of it. Let me tell you how I got here. Tuesday night. 3 days earlier. 8:47 p.m. I walked into my apartment and dropped my hard hat on the kitchen counter. My steel-toe boots came off by the door and landed with a heavy thud. The jacket I'd worn all day still had drywall dust caked on the shoulders from the construction site. I work as a construction engineer on the South Loop project in Chicago. It's a 22-story residential tower going up faster than the city can approve permits. I'm 29 years old and I don't swing hammers or pour concrete myself. My job is managing plans, reviewing permits, scheduling inspections, and making sure contractors don't accidentally build something that collapses in 5 years. My apartment is small, but it's mine. 1 bedroom on the 12th floor with just enough space for a couch, a TV, and some peace and quiet. No roommates splitting rent. No landlord texting me at midnight about broken water heaters. Just me and my silence. Single. No kids, no pets, no drama. At least that's what I thought. The pattern started about a year ago with monthly family dinners at my sister Hannah's house. She lives an hour outside the city in the suburbs. Big yard, 4 kids under 10, toys scattered across every surface. The cartoon channel is always blaring on a TV that nobody's actually watching. I'd show up on Sundays when work allowed and eat whatever mom brought over. Meatloaf or casserole or pasta bake. I'd watch my nieces and nephews run circles around the coffee table, while my brother-in-law Luke sat on the couch scrolling through his phone. About 6 months ago, I was helping Mom dry dishes in the kitchen when Hannah walked in. She had that look on her face, chewing her bottom lip the way she does when she wants something. Can I talk to you for a sec? I set down the plate I'd been drying. Sure, what's up? I need new tires. I already knew where this was going. Okay. Like soon. The mechanic said the tread is dangerous, especially with the kids in the car. I looked at my mom. She gave me that tight smile she always uses when she's about to tell me what the right answer is. You're single, Mom said while drying her hands on a dish towel. You can afford it. Family helps family. I glanced into the living room. My dad sat at the dining table with the newspaper open and his eyes down. He never looked up during these conversations. Never said a word. I pulled out my phone and opened Venmo, typed in Hannah's name, sent $1,400. Transaction complete. Hannah threw her arms around me. Thank you, oh my God, you're such a lifesaver. I didn't say anything. That was the 9th emergency that year. It wasn't always tires. I started keeping track without really meaning to. Just scrolling through my bank app one night out of curiosity, and there it was. Hannah Collins. Over and over and over. March. Emergency rent. Landlord's threatening eviction. Please. $850. June. Dog needs surgery and the kids are crying. Can't afford the vet. Wanted $200. August. Minivan down payment. Can't keep driving the kids around in a sedan. $2,000. October. Luke's truck got repossessed. He needs it for work. I'm begging you. $3,400. Every single text ended the same way. Just this once, I swear. I counted them all one night when I couldn't sleep. 47 transactions in 2 years. Total amount transferred, $8,147.19. I never asked for a single dollar back. They never offered. Last Christmas, the request came wrapped in holiday guilt and fake tears. We were all at my parents' house for the usual family gathering. Tree in the corner, kids ripping through wrapping paper, chaos everywhere. Hannah pulled me into the hallway while everyone else was distracted in the living room. "Can I ask you something?" I leaned against the wall and crossed my arms. "Go ahead." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Can you buy the kids Santa gifts this year?" I blinked. "What happened?" "Luke got laid off last month and we're barely making rent." Her eyes started to get shiny. The tears were real. They always are. "The kids need iPads for school and I already told them Santa's bringing them." I felt the trap snap shut around me. If I said no, 4 kids would wake up on Christmas morning with nothing from Santa. If I said yes, I'd be funding another one of her lies. "How much?" $800. I found them on sale at Target. I said yes. I bought 2 iPad minis and wrapped them in red and green paper with little reindeer printed on it. Watched the kids scream and jump around on Christmas morning like it was the best day of their lives. 2 weeks later, I stopped by Hannah's house for a quick visit. Both iPads were sitting open on the couch. One had TikTok playing. The other had Roblox. Not a single school app in sight. I checked Luke's Instagram that same night. He'd posted pictures from Topgolf 3 days before Hannah told me he got laid off. I didn't say anything to her. I just stopped believing anything they told me. The phrases became a script. My mom's greatest hits on repeat. I could have written them down, numbered them, and made a bingo card. Family helps family. You're lucky you're single with no responsibilities. Money isn't everything, but love is. When we're old, you'll understand. My dad never contributed much to these conversations. He'd sit in his recliner with his eyes on the TV or buried in the newspaper and let my mom handle all the talking, all the asking, all the guilting. I realized something one night while I was lying in bed staring at the ceiling and unable to sleep. I wasn't their son. I was their retirement plan. I checked my mom's Facebook profile once out of morbid curiosity. Scrolled back a couple of years and found a post from right when I'd started my engineering job. "So blessed to have a son who takes care of us. I hadn't lived at home in 11 years. Tuesday night. 8:47 p.m. I had leftover pizza in the fridge and an 87-page structural report open on my laptop. The permit inspection was scheduled for tomorrow morning, and if it failed, the project would face a $40,000 daily delay penalty. My boss had made it very clear that failure wasn't an option. I needed to review load calculations, rebar placements, and concrete PSI ratings. I needed to be focused and sharp. My phone buzzed on the counter. Hannah's name lit up the screen. My stomach dropped immediately. It always did. Every text from my sister started the same way. Friendly and casual at first. Then came the ask. I opened the message. "Quick question," I typed back. "What?" 3 dots appeared and disappeared. Then her response came through. "Luke surprised me with a Honolulu trip." I stared at the screen and waited for the rest. "Leaving tomorrow at 2 p.m. So excited," I typed back slowly. "That's great." I didn't understand why she was telling me this. We didn't usually share vacation plans with each other. Then the next message appeared. "We're 20 men from your place. Dropping the kids off for 10 days. Already packed their bags." My brain completely stopped processing information. I read the message again. Then a third time. I typed with shaking hands. "What? I didn't agree to this." Her reply came back instantly like she'd been expecting my reaction. "Relax. Mom has your spare key. She's letting us in. Kids are so excited to see Uncle." 20 minutes away. Not asking permission, just informing me. I stood up from the couch and started pacing around my small living room. I read the texts over and over to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding something. My brain pulled up a memory from 3 years ago. I'd been on a work trip to Milwaukee when my apartment had a small pipe leak. Nothing major, but enough that my downstairs neighbor called the building maintenance. I'd given my mom my spare key so the maintenance guy could get inside and fix it. She'd promised to give the key back when I got home. She never did. I scrolled up in my text thread with Hannah and searched for any mention of this trip. I looked for the words Honolulu or vacation or kids or babysitting. Nothing. Not a single message. This wasn't some last-minute surprise trip that Luke had sprung on her. This was planned well in advance. And my mother had been part of the plan the entire time. I texted my mom directly. Did you know about this? 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Yes. Hannah deserves a vacation. Stop being selfish. I stared at that message on my screen for what felt like a full minute. Then something inside me went ice cold. I didn't yell. I didn't throw my phone across the room. I didn't punch a wall or break anything. I just got very, very calm. I pulled up my building's front desk number and hit the call button. 2 rings. Later, a familiar voice answered. Front desk, this is Carlos. Hey Carlos, this is the resident in Unit 12G. Evening, sir. Is everything okay? I need my locks rekeyed tonight. It's an emergency situation. There was a brief pause. Is there a security concern I should be aware of? Yes. My voice came out flat and emotionless. My mother has an unauthorized copy of my apartment key, and she may attempt to enter my unit tomorrow without my consent. Another pause, longer this time. Actually, sir, your mother called the front desk earlier today. She was asking about our visitor policies and key drop-off procedures. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. I need you to note this in the building security log, I said in the coldest voice I'd ever used. My mother's name is Linda Brennan, and she is not authorized to enter my unit under any circumstances. If she attempts entry, contact me immediately. If she shows up with minors, document everything. I may need to file an official report. Understood, sir. Carlos didn't ask any follow-up questions. He was a good doorman. Maintenance can have your locks rekeyed by 10 p.m. tonight. Bill the rush fee to my account. I'll pay whatever it costs. Not a problem. We'll take care of it right away. I hung up the phone, opened my notes app and created a new file. I typed out a title in all caps. Timeline of events. Sister attempted childcare abandonment. Then I started documenting everything with timestamps. 8:47 p.m. Sister sends text message. Informs me, does not ask, that she is dropping off 4 children at my apartment in 20 minutes for 10 days. 8:49 p.m. Sister states that mother has unauthorized key to my apartment and will let them inside. 8:51 p.m. Confirmed with mother via text. She knew about this plan. She was actively participating. 8:53 p.m. Called building security and requested emergency lock change. Security confirms mother called earlier today, asking about key drop-off policies. This was premeditated. I kept typing and adding details. My phone buzzed with another message from Hannah. We're 15 minutes away now. See you soon. I didn't respond. Then my phone started ringing. Mom's name appeared on the screen. I let it ring once. Twice. Took a deep breath. Opened my voice memos app and hit the red record button. Then I answered the call. Hi, Mom. What is this I hear about locks? My mother's voice came through the phone at full volume before I could even say hello. I kept my tone calm and steady while the voice memo app recorded everything in the background. I told Hannah no. I have a permit inspection tomorrow morning that's worth $40,000 if it fails. Don't give me that work nonsense. Her voice got louder and sharper. Hannah deserves this vacation. She has 4 kids to take care of every single day while you sit there with your Netflix in your quiet apartment. I walked over to my laptop and opened it while she was still yelling. Started pulling up my bank records from the last 2 years. She has a husband, I said. Luke can watch them. Luke is going with her. It's a couple's trip. They need time together. I opened Excel and created a new spreadsheet, titled it Family Transfers 2023-2025. Then they hire a babysitter like normal parents do. You are unbelievable. Her voice went up another octave. After everything we've done for you. I stopped typing and leaned back in my chair. What exactly did you do for me, Mom? We raised you. We supported your dream of becoming an engineer. I pulled up my student loan account in another tab. The balance stared back at me in bold numbers. You didn't pay for my college. I have $43,000 in student loans that I'm still paying off every single month. We gave you a home. Until I was 18 years old. Then you charged me $600 a month in rent while I was trying to save up for my own place. Silence on the other end of the line. When she spoke again, Her voice came out quieter and more dangerous than before. You're throwing our love back in our face over money. No, I said. I'm throwing your hands out of my wallet. I opened my email while she sputtered on the other end. Started composing a message to my building manager with the subject line, unauthorized key holder, security concern. Attached the timeline I'd created earlier and requested written confirmation that the locks had been changed. Hit send. I've sent Hannah $8,247 in the last 2 years. That's what family does, my mother's voice cracked. That's what it means to help each other. Family asks for help. You people demand it. There's a difference. I started reading directly from the Excel spreadsheet I'd been building. March 14th, 2024. $850 for emergency rent. Stop it. June 3rd, 2024. $1,200 for the dog's surgery. You're being cruel. August 18th, 2024. $2,100 for a minivan down payment. Stop it right now. October 2nd, 2024. $3,400 because Luke's truck got repossessed. I could hear her breathing hard on the other end of the line. I'm not being cruel, Mom. I'm being accurate. I saved the Excel file. Clicked File, then Export to PDF. Named it Financial Exploitation Documentation 2023-2025 and saved it to a folder on my desktop labeled Family. We already told the kids they're staying with their uncle, my mom was back to yelling. They packed their bags. Their little suitcases are already in the car. That's not my problem. Luke spent $4,200 on non-refundable plane tickets. There is no backup plan. Do you understand? I kept my voice level and cold. Then you shouldn't have made plans that required my consent without actually asking for my consent first. You will open that door tomorrow when we arrive. You will let those children into your apartment. Or you're out of this family. Do you hear me? Out. I let the silence stretch out for a few seconds. Okay. Okay, what? Okay, I'm out to you then. If that's the price of having boundaries, I'll pay it. You selfish piece of... I hung up. Opened my text messages and found my dad's contact. I hadn't texted him directly in probably 6 months. Typed out a message with my hands still shaking from adrenaline. Mom just told me I'm out of the family because I won't take Hannah's kids for 10 days without any notice. Wanted you to hear my side before she calls you. I attached the voice recording of the entire phone call I'd just had with Mom. Hit send. 2 blue check marks appeared immediately. He'd read it. No response came back. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. Hannah's name on the screen. I answered. What? She was crying, full-on sobbing into the phone. Mom said you hung up on her. She told me I'm out of my family. Seemed like a natural place to end the conversation. Please, she choked out between sobs. Please just do this for us. Luke spent $4,200 on this trip. I will never get another vacation like this in my entire life. I felt something twist in my chest. That familiar guilt starting to creep in around the edges. You can afford $4,200 for a trip to Honolulu, but you can't afford $800 for a babysitter. That's different. Her voice went from crying to angry in half a second. The trip is for us, for our marriage. A babysitter is just someone sitting there while the kids exist. Hannah, listen to yourself. You don't understand. You're single. You don't know what it's like to need a break from your own life. My jaw clenched. I work 60-hour weeks on a construction site. I come home exhausted every single day. The difference is that I don't make my exhaustion your problem. You owe me. Her voice went quiet and cold. I gave Mom and Dad grandchildren, 4 of them. What have you given them? Nothing. My face went completely blank. What did you just say? You heard me. Hannah's voice was steel now. No more crying. I gave them grandchildren, beautiful grandchildren who visit them every week and call them on the phone and make their lives worth living. You gave them nothing. So yeah, you owe us. I gave them $8,247. I gave you $8,247 for diapers and tires and iPads and Luke's truck and every other emergency that came up for 2 straight years. We didn't ask for that. You asked 47 times. I have all the texts saved. Silence. You're counting? You're actually keeping count? I'm not counting. I'm documenting. You're insane. No, I said. I'm done. Don't come to my building tomorrow. You won't get in. I hung up before she could say another word. Opened the family group chat. Mom, Dad, Hannah, and me. Nobody had posted anything in there for weeks. I typed out a message with my hands still shaking. For the record, I was not asked to babysit. I was informed at 8:47 p.m. tonight that children would be dropped off at my apartment in 20 minutes. I declined. My door will not open tomorrow. Hit send. Immediately muted the entire chat. At 10:14 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole. 2 maintenance guys with toolboxes. I opened the door and watched them work in silence. They pulled out the old deadbolt and door handle, installed new ones with fresh keys. The whole process took about 20 minutes. When they finished, one of them handed me 2 new keys. These are the only copies. Keep them somewhere safe. Thank you. After they left, I checked my email. New message from the building manager. Per your request, Linda Brennan has been removed from the approved visitor list. Doorman Carlos has been briefed on the situation. Please let us know if you need anything else. I sat down on my couch in the dark apartment with all the lights off, started imagining what tomorrow would look like. 4 kids crying in the lobby, my sister screaming, my mom pointing fingers, everyone staring. Maybe I should just let them up, just this once. Save everyone the embarrassment. My phone buzzed. Instagram notification. Hannah had posted a new story. I opened it. She was at Target with a shopping cart full of swimsuits. Bright colors everywhere. 6 or 7 different ones piled up. The caption read, "Can't wait for island life." The guilt evaporated like steam. I screenshotted the post. Added it to the documentation folder I'd created. Noted the timestamp. Night before the emergency trip that supposedly had no backup plan. Thursday, 1:18 p.m. I sat in a coffee shop 2 blocks away from my apartment building and stared at my laptop screen. The permit inspection had finished an hour ago at noon. We'd passed. No $40,000 penalties. The relief should have felt better than it did. My phone buzzed on the table. Hannah's name appeared with a new message. 15 minutes away. I didn't respond. Just watched the screen until it went dark again. I closed my laptop and walked to the window. Stared out at the street below and waited. At 1:33 p.m., a silver minivan pulled up to the curb in front of my building. Hannah got out of the driver's seat. Luke climbed out of the passenger side. My mom stepped out of the sliding door in the back. Then came the kids. All 4 of them. Ages 4, 6, 8, and 9. Luke started pulling suitcases out of the trunk. I counted them. 6 total. I grabbed my coffee and walked out of the shop. I came in through the side entrance of my building. Hannah was already yelling at Carlos by the time I stepped into the lobby. My mom stood next to her with her arms crossed and her finger pointing up at the elevator like she could force me to materialize through sheer willpower. Carlos kept his voice calm and professional. "Ma'am, I'm following the resident's instructions." The 4 kids sat on the pile of suitcases behind them. The youngest one was crying. The oldest one had an iPad out and headphones on, completely checked out from the chaos around her. Luke stood off to the side with his hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable and avoiding eye contact with everyone. Hannah spotted me. "There you are." She whirled around and pointed directly at me. "Tell Carlos to let us up." I walked closer and kept my voice calm. "Carlos is following my instructions." My mom stepped forward with her face already turning red. "You are embarrassing us in public. You embarrassed yourselves when you tried to drop off 4 kids at my apartment without asking permission first." "We told you last night." Hannah's voice went up another level. I pulled out my phone and opened my text messages, turned the screen toward Carlos so he could read it clearly. 8:47 p.m. last night, 20 minutes away. That's not asking. That's ambushing. Carlos glanced at the screen and nodded once but didn't say anything. I opened my banking app and pulled up the transfer history. Turned the screen toward Carlos again. $8,247 in 2 years. This is why they think my apartment is theirs instead of mine. Carlos's eyes widened slightly as he scanned the list of transactions. He looked at my sister with a completely different expression on his face now. A couple in gym clothes who'd been walking through the lobby stopped in their tracks and stared at the scene unfolding in front of them. My mom stepped forward with her voice shaking. You're going to let your nieces and nephews suffer because of your pride? They're not suffering. They have two parents standing right here. We have a flight in 45 minutes. I glanced at my watch. Then you'd better hurry. Airport is 30 minutes away in traffic. My mom moved closer to me and dropped her voice to barely above a whisper. The kind of whisper that somehow sounds more violent than yelling. You're out of this family. I met her eyes and didn't blink. Okay. Silence filled the entire lobby. The delivery guy who'd been walking toward the elevator stopped mid-step and stared. The couple in gym clothes hadn't moved. Even the kids had gone quiet. Luke finally spoke up for the first time since they'd arrived. Babe, maybe we should just call that hotel babysitting service? Hannah's head snapped toward him, and she gave him a look that could have melted steel. Like he'd just committed the ultimate betrayal by suggesting a rational solution. My mom grabbed her purse. We're leaving. I watched them load all 6 suitcases back into the minivan. The kids were crying louder now. Confused and tired and upset because they didn't understand why Uncle wouldn't let them come upstairs. The youngest one screamed at the top of her lungs. I want to stay with Uncle. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. I felt sick to my stomach. Carlos appeared next to me. Mr. Brennan, you okay? I nodded, but didn't trust my voice enough to actually speak. I walked to the elevator and hit the button for the 12th floor. Rode up in silence. Walked into my apartment and sat down on the couch. My hands were shaking. For 10 solid minutes, I thought about calling them back. Telling them to come back. Letting the kids stay. Destroying myself just a little bit more to keep the peace. Maybe I should have just said yes. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was the selfish one after all. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Instagram notification. Hannah Mendez tagged you in a post. I picked up the phone and opened Instagram. 6 hours after the lobby scene, I was still lying on my couch staring at the ceiling. I hadn't moved much, hadn't eaten. Just kept replaying the whole thing in my head on an endless loop. My phone was sitting on the coffee table, screen dark and silent. I picked it up and opened Instagram without really thinking about it. The first post in my feed was from Hannah. Sunset over an infinity pool. Crystal clear water. A coconut drink with a little umbrella in it sitting on the edge. Hannah in oversized sunglasses, smiling at the camera with Luke's arm around her shoulder. The caption read, finally taking time for U.S. location tag, Honolulu, Hawaii. I stared at the photo for a full 10 seconds before my brain processed what I was seeing. They went. They actually went. I swiped to the second photo in the post. 4 kids sitting on my parents' couch in their living room. I recognized the floral wallpaper in the background and the old wooden coffee table. The youngest one was holding a stuffed animal. The oldest had that same iPad from earlier. The caption on that photo said, Grandma and Grandpa time. Thank you for watching them. I started laughing. Not a happy laugh, not even an angry one. Just this bitter, exhausted sound that came out of my chest without permission. So much for no backup plan. I took screenshots of both photos, opened the documentation folder on my phone, and created a new file titled Evidence of Premeditated Deception. Added both screenshots with timestamps. Posted 6 hours after claiming there was no one else to watch the kids. That night around 11, my phone buzzed with a text from my cousin Jenna. You should probably see what your mom just posted on Facebook. I opened the app and navigated to my mother's profile. The post was already at 240 likes. It had been up for less than an hour. Some of us give everything for our children and receive nothing but cruelty in return. Imagine raising a son who values money over his own family. Praying for my broken heart tonight. God sees everything. The comments were already rolling in. Sending hugs. You're such a good mom. Kids today are so ungrateful. Stay strong, Linda. He'll regret this one day. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through them. I clicked on the comment box and started typing out my side of the story. My fingers moved fast across the keyboard, laying out every detail of what actually happened. Then I stopped, looked at what I'd written, deleted all of it. Instead, I opened my messages and started composing DMs to 5 different family members: Aunt Rebecca, Uncle Rob, Aunt Michelle, Cousin Jenna, and Cousin Mike. I attached the voice recording of my mom's phone call, added screenshots of the 20 minutes away text from Hannah, included the PDF of my bank transfer history, threw in the Instagram posts showing them in Honolulu with the kids safely at my parents' house, typed out the same message to all of them. You'll probably see Mom's post on Facebook. Here's what actually happened. I'm not asking you to pick sides, just want you to have the facts. Hit send on all 5. Then I put my phone down and went to bed. The extended family group chat exploded the next morning. 23 people total in that chat. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even a few second cousins I barely knew. I woke up to 74 unread messages, scrolled through them while drinking coffee. Aunt Rebecca: Linda, why does your son have a recording of you telling him he's out of family? Uncle Rob: Wait, she tried to use his apartment key without asking permission first. Cousin Mike: I just looked at Hannah's Instagram. She's literally in Honolulu right now. I thought there was no backup plan. My mom replied, This is a private family matter and I will not be discussing it in a group chat. Aunt Rebecca again: $8,000 in 2 years isn't private, Linda. That's financial exploitation. Cousin Jenna: I'm with him on this one. You can't just volunteer someone else's apartment for 10 days without asking first. The chat kept going, split pretty evenly down the middle. Half the family defending my mom and Hannah, half the family saying I'd done the right thing. I muted the entire conversation and didn't respond to any of it. 2 days later, my Aunt Rebecca called me directly. She's my mom's younger sister. We'd always gotten along okay, but we weren't particularly close. Your mom's version of events didn't add up, she said, as soon as I answered. And then I saw Hannah posting pictures from a luxury resort while claiming you'd abandoned her children. I didn't abandon anyone, I just said no. I know. She paused for a long moment. And I'm sorry I didn't say this earlier, but your mom has been doing this to you since you were 16 years old? I sat up straighter. What are you talking about? She used to brag about it at family dinners. She'd say, My son gives me money every single month. He's so responsible and mature. You were working at Burger King making $9 an hour. My throat went tight. Seeing you finally say no to her, it made me realize I've been doing the exact same thing with my own son. Slipping him money whenever he asks. Letting him guilt me into paying his bills. Maybe I can stop too. We talked for another 20 minutes. When we hung up, I felt something I hadn't expected. Validation. That same afternoon, I opened my banking app and started going through my automatic payments. Found something I'd completely forgotten about. Recurring payment, Hannah Collins, $400 month. Auto send on the 1st of every month. I'd set it up 18 months ago after Hannah had called me crying about not being able to budget properly. She'd promised it was temporary, just until she got back on her feet. I'd sent her $7,200 automatically without even thinking about it. I clicked on the payment and scrolled down to the cancellation option. Cancel recurring payment? Are you sure? I clicked yes. Then I opened Venmo and changed all my settings to private. Turned off the option for people to request money from me. Blocked Hannah's account entirely. My shoulders felt lighter immediately. A week later, I found an online therapist through BetterHelp and booked my first video session. I told her the whole story from beginning to end. The van, the emergency texts, the Christmas iPads, the lobby confrontation, the Instagram posts, everything. She listened without interrupting and took notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen and leaned back in her chair. What you're describing is called financial parentification. Your family has been treating you like a third parent and a personal ATM since you started working as a teenager. I shifted uncomfortably. Isn't that just what it means to be the oldest sibling? No. Her voice was firm but kind. It's exploitation. Your parents were supposed to protect you from adult financial burdens. Instead, they weaponized your sense of family obligation and duty. I sat there in silence for a few seconds, letting that sink in. How do you feel right now? She asked. I thought about it. Lighter. 3 weeks after the lobby incident, I had my first full weekend off in months. No emergency texts asking for money. No guilt-filled phone calls about family obligations. No crisis that required my immediate financial intervention. I slept until 11 in the morning on Saturday. First time I'd done that in almost 2 years. In the afternoon, I was scrolling through my phone and saw an ad for a spa near my apartment. Deep tissue massage. $140 for 90 minutes. My first instinct was automatic. I started converting the price in my head. That's 1/3 of Hannah's electric bill. Then I stopped myself. This was my money, for my body. That was sore and exhausted from my job on the construction site. I booked the appointment and paid for it without hesitating. 90 minutes later, I walked out of that spa with my shoulders looser than they'd been in months. Something in my chest felt different too. I realized what it was on the drive home. It was the complete absence of guilt. 4 weeks after the lobby confrontation, my dad called me. I couldn't remember the last time he'd initiated a phone call with me. Maybe years. I answered. Hey, Dad. He cleared his throat the way he always does before saying something uncomfortable. Your mother is still upset. I know. Long pause. I could hear the TV playing in the background on his end. I've seen your name on their bank statements over the years, more times than I probably should have. I didn't say anything. I should have said something a long time ago. I didn't. That's on me. His voice was quiet and tired. It was easier to let your mother handle everything. Easier to not make waves and not get involved. Another long pause. You did the right thing in that lobby. My eyes started stinging. Anyway, he said, I just wanted you to know that. The line went silent. He'd hung up. I sat there holding my phone for a few minutes afterward, not quite sure what to do with that conversation. 4 months after everything happened, I was at the construction site reviewing structural plans when my phone buzzed. Hannah's name appeared on the screen. I stared at it for a full minute before opening the message. Hey. Just that. One word. I watched the 3 dots appear at the bottom of the screen. Disappear. Appear again. Not asking for money. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Another message came through. We found a babysitter for our next trip. Budgeted for it. $220 per day. Damn expensive. Then, but we did it. I waited to see if there was more. Luke said if someone tried to drop 4 kids on us last minute without asking, we'd call the cops. Then finally, so, yeah, I get it now. I typed back carefully. I'm glad you figured it out. You're their parents. You'll always find a way. Her response came quick. Yeah. That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement of the money I'd given her over the years. No real accountability. But the tone had shifted from, you owe us, to something more neutral and distant. I'd take it. That night, I sat out on my balcony with a beer and looked out at the Chicago skyline. I thought back over the last 4 months. The lobby confrontation with my sister screaming and my mom declaring me that I'm out of the family. The Instagram betrayal showing they'd had a backup plan all along. The family splitting down the middle in the group chat. Hannah's text today, acknowledging that maybe I'd been right. I realized something sitting there in the quiet. They weren't destroyed. Hannah still had her 4 kids and her husband. My mom and dad were still together. They'd gone to Honolulu and had their vacation. They were fine. And so was I. For the first time in years, my bank account was actually growing instead of draining every month. No more 2 a.m. guilt texts. No more emergency Venmo requests. No more feeling like a walking ATM with a pilot's license. Me saying no hadn't destroyed them. It had forced them to grow up and handle their own problems. And it had forced me to finally start living my life like it actually belonged to me. I finished my beer and went back inside. 10 months later, I moved into a new apartment. 2 bedrooms this time in a better building on the north side. 1 room for my bed and my stuff. The second room split between a home office for work-from-home days and an actual guest room with a pull-out couch for friends who needed a place to crash. Friends, not family obligations. I checked my savings account on the first of the month. $11,847. First time in my adult life I'd broken $10,000. The construction company promoted me to senior project engineer. Salary jumped from $68,000 to $79,000. More responsibility, but also more control over my schedule and my projects. The family group chat stayed muted on my phone. No notifications. No buzzing at midnight with emergencies that somehow always required my bank account. No Venmo requests from Hannah. Life was quiet. November rolled around and my phone lit up with a text from my mom. First direct message I'd gotten from her in 7 months. Thanksgiving dinner at our house, 3 p.m. You bringing anything? I stared at the message for a long time. Typed back, I have plans. Thanks for the invite. I didn't actually have plans. I was going to order Chinese food and watch football on my couch in sweatpants. Her response came 2 minutes later. Plans with who? I left her on read. She didn't push. On Thanksgiving Day, I saw the family photos pop up on Facebook. Everyone gathered around my parents' dining table. Turkey and mashed potatoes and all the usual dishes. Hannah and Luke with the kids. My parents at the head of the table smiling for the camera. There was an empty chair where I usually sat. Nobody mentioned it in the captions. I scrolled past the photos and felt absolutely nothing. No guilt. No fear of missing out. No sadness. Just peace. In December, I booked myself a 5-day trip to Vancouver. Used my own money that I'd saved from my own paychecks. Not helping anyone else. Not using employee discounts to send someone on a vacation they couldn't afford. Just me, spending money on myself. Flight, hotel, and rental car came out to $1,840 total. The old voice in my head tried to do the math. That's 4 months of Hannah's car payment. The new voice shut it down immediately. That's 5 days of my life. I booked it without hesitating. Sitting at the airport gate waiting to board, I watched a family with 3 young kids trying to manage their luggage. The mom looked absolutely exhausted. The dad was carrying all the bags and corralling the kids at the same time. I thought about Hannah's Instagram post from 18 months ago. Sunset and infinity pools and hashtags about being blessed and deserving. I smiled. This time, my vacation wasn't built on anyone else's back. March came around. 18 months after the lobby incident. My cousin Jenna got married. She was the one who'd supported me when everything exploded in the family group chat. Sent her screenshots and evidence when my mom tried to paint me as the villain. I RSVP'd yes with a +1 and brought my coworker Sarah as a friend. No pressure, no expectations. Just someone to sit with during dinner. The seating chart put my parents, Hannah, and Luke at table 3 near the front. I was at table 9 in the back with Sarah and some other cousins I hadn't seen in years. During the ceremony, we were all in the same room. I stood when the bride walked down the aisle. Watched my mom dab at her eyes with a tissue during the vows. Nobody approached me. Nobody tried to force a reconciliation in the middle of someone else's wedding. During cocktail hour, I was standing at the bar ordering a drink when my mom walked past on her way to the bathroom. Our eyes met for just a second. She looked tired. Older than I remembered. Gray streaks in her hair that hadn't been there before. She looked away first and kept walking. No words, no dramatic scene, just distance. I went back to my table with my drink. Later in the evening, I was at the dessert table loading a piece of chocolate cake onto my plate when someone said, "Hey," right behind me. I turned around. Hannah was standing there with a glass of white wine in her hand, looking uncomfortable and avoiding direct eye contact. "Hey," I said back. Long silence. The kind that stretches out and gets heavier the longer it goes. "The kids ask about you sometimes," she finally said. "Yeah?" "I tell them Uncle is busy with work, but that he still loves them." My voice came out softer than I expected. "You can tell them that's true." Another pause. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "We're managing okay, the whole babysitter thing. She took a sip of wine. Luke got a better job last month. Sales manager. We're doing fine. That's good. I'm glad. She nodded once and turned to walk away without another word. No hug, no tears, no actual apology for anything that had happened. But no hostility either. Just two people who used to be close and weren't anymore. At 10 p.m., the reception was winding down and people were starting to leave. I walked out to the parking lot and spotted my dad standing alone near the entrance. He had a cigarette in his hand. He'd quit smoking 10 years ago, so seeing him with one now told me he was stressed about something. He noticed me and lifted his chin slightly. Hey. Hey, Dad. I walked over and stood next to him. Didn't ask for a cigarette since I'd never been a smoker. We stood there in comfortable silence for a minute. Just the sound of cars pulling out of the lot and distant music from inside the reception hall. You doing okay? He asked. Yeah. You? He took a long drag and didn't answer right away. Your mother misses you. I know. She won't say it out loud, but she does. I nodded. I miss her too. Sometimes. He smoked in silence for another few seconds, then dropped the cigarette and crushed it under his shoe. I should have said something that night in the lobby, when everything went down. I didn't say a word, just stood there. His voice was quiet and rough. I'm sorry for that. My throat went tight. You're saying it now, I managed. He nodded slowly and looked at me for the first time all night. You did good, kid, standing up for yourself like that. He reached out and patted my shoulder once, firm but brief. Then he turned and walked back inside the reception hall. I stood alone in the parking lot for a few minutes afterward, just breathing and letting everything settle. Driving home that night, I took the highway with my windows cracked and the radio playing. Tom Petty's Free Fallin' came on. I turned it up. My phone sat silent in the cup holder. No missed calls. No emergency texts waiting for me. No crises that required my immediate attention or my bank account. I thought about everything that had happened over the last 18 months. And I realized something. I didn't win. They didn't lose. We just stopped pretending that debt was the same thing as love. I'm still their son. I still show up to weddings when I'm invited. I'm still in the family photos, just from a greater distance now. But I don't owe them my life anymore. My mom still posts on Facebook about family and blessings and being grateful. My dad still sits in his recliner watching TV in silence. Hannah still has her 4 kids and her minivan and her husband. The difference now is that when my phone buzzes, I don't feel that immediate spike of dread in my stomach. I don't automatically start calculating how much this particular text message is going to cost me. I don't keep a running mental tab of how much I'm worth to them based on my bank account balance. Because I finally learned something that a construction engineer should have understood from the very beginning. You can't build anything solid on a foundation of guilt. And what I did wasn't revenge. It was just knowing when to close the door and lock it.